Secure your peace of mind by calling Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. From traditional funeral services to memorials to direct cremation, pre-needs, and more. Call Charlotte White at Exquisite Family Mortuary for Southern hospitality in Southern California. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. Exquisite Family Mortuary is located nearby in Inglewood, California. Exquisite Family Mortuary, where your loved one becomes our loved one.
What you think about you and me, baby, going one on one? Cheeky, y'all. So deaf. MC, I'm the man to fulfill your needs. Get you everything that you see in your dream, baby. Let nothing and nobody tear us apart. And forever you'll be my sweetheart.
Boy, haven't you noticed the gleam in my eye? Because of you, I'm a little hypnotized.
Yeah.
But every time you're with me, I feel so positive that with a little love, something's got to give.
Welcome in. Happy Thursday. You already know what it is, fam. You are at your front row seat to the culture for your daily dose of headlines and trending topics, served hot and spicy like you like it. You are locked in with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580 for your entertainment news update. And tonight, we got stories for you, as always. But first up, happy birthday to the phenomenal, the iconic Mariah Carey. I'm a little bit of a lamb, I think. Just a little bit. That's what she calls her fans. You know, Mariah's fans are lambs. Beyonce is the beehive. Rihanna is the navy. Mariah's fans are lambs.
I don't get the correlation.
So, she's had this nickname for her fans since, like, forever. You know, Mariah likes butterflies and really girly things and sweet things like that. I can't remember. She had a lamb in one of those videos, one of the like early videos, you know, like first or second album videos. I think she's sitting in a field or something. And so I don't know if she picked up the name for her fans or if her fans dubbed themselves as such, but that is what they call themselves. So.
This is new information for me.
Well, there you go.
Shout out to the lambs.
Shout out to the lamb. Shout out to Miss Carey doing her thing. All right, tonight we are getting into Will Smith. You know, he has an album dropping tomorrow, based on a true story. And he phoned some OGs, some goats, to get some information, some intel before he decided to dust off the mic. So we're going to get into those conversations. And Oprah Winfrey, you know, Oprah's name is always seemingly connected to some drama. Not because necessarily anything that she is doing, but that is, you know, sometimes the world we live in. Well, this time she's being pulled into a legal storm that involves Russell Simmons and a civil suit against him from one of his former employees. So we'll get into that. And R&B legend Aaron Hall. This is obviously another night where we are going to be requiring the Law and Order sound effect. What are we calling it? I don't know. We're going to have to think of a name for this because we have to do it way too often. Aaron Hall, he's reportedly playing hide and seek with the court. So we're going to get into the details of that.
Jilly Files.
Jilly Files. Okay, I like it. Jilly Files. We're going to start having the Jilly Files and doing our investigating reporting because, you know, I read court documents. I research. But first, you know, we got to warm it up with some pre-conversation starters. Get you in the know of a couple of things that are jumping off here. So, Pop the Balloon. We know that is a phenomenon. People have talked about it. It was spoofed on SNL. And the YouTube dating experiment is turning into a streaming spectacle. Netflix has ordered Pop the Balloon Live. It's going to be airing on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time starting April 10th. And it's going to be hosted not by the original host, but by former Insecure star Yvonne Orji. And, you know, it's singles trying to keep their balloons intact while navigating love or lust or viral fame. I don't know. And yes, there's drama. So reality TV vets like Johnny Bananas, Farrah Abrams, Chase Damore, and others are joining in. The original content creator is also an executive producer. Yes, so she's involved, but I kind of would have liked to see her hosting it, But if you paid attention to the names that I listed that are also going to be appearing, it's going to be a slightly different show with a slightly different look to it, I believe. But we'll have to see, April 10th. And for you Zendaya fans, it's already was announced that the long-awaited Ronnie Spector biopic is happening. Well, it's leveled up. Oscar winner Barry Jenkins, Moonlight. He signed on to direct the A24 film. The script is co-written by David. I'm going to mess up his name, so we'll just move on past that. And it aims to be really immersive, right? So it's not your typical cradle-to-grave story. And they're trying to do something special with this. And Zendaya was handpicked by Ronnie Spector before her passing. So, it's about to be a moment, right? When we come forward, we're going to get into more trending topics, more headlines. We're going to get into this Will Smith conversation and more. You're locked in with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're riding with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. Before the fire, Altadena was a real-life Wakanda. A thriving black oasis just 50 miles from downtown Los Angeles. 80% black residents were homeowners, building intergenerational wealth against the odds. It was a hub of black-owned businesses, churches, and cultural institutions. It stood as a symbol of black resilience and economic independence. Then, in a matter of hours, it was gone. The fire tore through homes, swallowed businesses, and left behind a painful void. But was it just an unstoppable act of nature, or was negligence involved? Did officials ignore early warning signs? Were the response efforts delayed or insufficient? What role, if any, did corporate or government failures play? Survivors are demanding answers. Don't miss our KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall. The Eden Altadena Fire, 100 days and counting, on Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center, 1081 North Fair Oaks in Pasadena. Join Dominic DePrima, Nee Cordelai Corte, James Farr, Tavis Smiley, and a panel of survivors, community leaders, and experts as we commemorate Day 100 since the wildfires flared up, and we discuss where we go from here. It's KBLA's Eden Altadena Fire, 100 Days and Counting Town Hall, Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center in Pasadena. Light refreshments to follow. Admission is free, but sign-up is required at our KBLA1580.com website. This is a community call to action, brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and Quinn Emanuel Trial Lawyers. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Can your pad absorb everything and stay fresh? Always Radiant with Flex Foam can. Get up to 0 leaks, 0 odor, and 0 feel. Because Flex Foam is the only pad with a flexible foam core. You heard me, foam. Always Radiant is so thin, it feels like nothing, yet protects like nothing else. Can your pad do that? For up to 100% leak-free protection, try Always Radiant to see what Flex Foam can do for you.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Now back to more entertainment news with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome back in. You are locked in with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. So, you know how this goes down. If at any point during this conversation you want to join in, 800-920-1580. Hit us up on social, KBLA 1580. I'm at Stiletto Jill. You can join us in the YouTube chat. There is always a lot of conversation going on there. They're already getting started. So, before we jump into tonight's main events, I quickly want to mention that Chris Brown has announced that he is going on tour, the Breezy Bowl. It's CB, Summer Walker, and Bryson Tiller. He's hitting Europe and North America. It'll be in LA in September. And he said, rest assured, the meet and greets are in play. So they're going to be happening. You know, I've never seen Chris Brown in concert. So I'm feeling like I need to go because the clips I see, it's an experience. I've seen him perform. I've seen him perform at award shows or things like that, like in person, but I've never seen his tour.
Low key, especially after, the whole 90,000 out in South Africa. I feel
Yeah.
like Chris Brown has a lot of momentum. I feel like his stock is up. I feel like this is also an opportunity for him to a degree,
A little redemption as far
to a
as
degree
we,
for
as far as
others,
it can be.
as far as it
for
can
some.
be, because I just think that he's gonna go ahead and have a crazy show. So it's dope that he's going to Europe and that he's coming over here to the States. So I'm definitely trying to go.
I'm trying to go too. Shout out to C Breezy. Okay, so also O'Shea Jackson Jr. had a clapback that I thought was very important, right? I think that it's fair because this conversation has been coming up a lot about Nepo babies and all of those things. So some troll tried to come at him and basically was like, yo, you're a Nepo baby. What would you know about anything? Especially about his roles and so forth. Den of Thieves 2 just dropped not too long ago. So O'Shea clapped back and was like, you want me to feel bad about having a good upbringing? And I think that's fair because so much of our success in our community is tied to how much you struggled early. And it's not a disrespect to the struggle and those that did and do, but we should champion and celebrate the ones that made a way, took what their parents did, and are building on it as well, because that's what we all want, right? That is the goal, to get yourself in a position so that you can do well for your family, so that you can uplift them and they continue that legacy. That's how that works. Andy?
Got to get the hate out your heart. Straight up.
I mean, do you think it's that? I often wonder, do we have an interesting conception about success and who deserves it and what it means, especially for us?
I think we have a love-hate relationship with it. I think, we want to give our kids a better life than what we had, right? But yet at the same time, let it be a friend of yours that you may have that might have, grown up with privilege, and the way you talk about that person, you know what I'm saying? It's weird. But I do agree that, we should be championing more, it's your responsibility. You're supposed to take care of your child. You know what I'm saying? Your child should have a better life than what you had. But I also think our perspective just on folks who might have grown up privileged, we shouldn't look down upon them, because it's funny, on the flip side, they may look down upon you, vice versa. But
I mean, class is always the bigger play in a lot of things, but I feel like if that person isn't, we in theory watched Cube on his grind on the way up. We know where he came from. So we don't extend grace that he, also managed to be a good parent, raise good kids that are being successful. Yeah, I know that they may have had a leg up, but I think one thing that people get wrong about nepotism, and we can point to Bronny James, and shout out to Bronny James, because Bronny James is talking a little bit now and balling just a little bit. He was on the court, talking a little bit. I like to see him coming out of his shell. So shout out to him. But
speaking of, go ahead.
The thing about that, I feel like, is that we sometimes think that they don't go through any struggles because they have that leg up, or that it's a direct path just because they may have gotten a boost or an introduction. It doesn't guarantee success. It doesn't guarantee that they will be given a break. And it also doesn't mean that everybody is going to be happy that they're in the position that they are in.
So, I got to ask you.
Okay.
I remember this term back, when I was working for this nonprofit a long time ago, right? because you mentioned struggles, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they don't have struggles. And I know it's not right to play struggle Olympics.
Right.
But some people are going to be like, for real?
Their struggles aren't mine, right.
What struggles have you went through?
I mean,
you know?
Here's the thing, right? Assuming we are speaking of black people, right? They still have to step out into the world as a black man or a black woman. They still, whatever their privilege says, and we remind them of that all the time, is not going to stop them from being pulled over for driving while black. It's not going to have
Marcus
questions.
Jordan.
Correct. They're not going to be, it's not going to stop them from being questioned in the workplace if they are worthy based on their skin color. So when I say that, there are things that, just like they happen to you, that happen to them too, that they're perceived, privilege, and I'm not denying that there isn't some privilege to it, but that doesn't offer cover for them. And we remind them to that, especially those who we deem ignore that, like Tiger Woods, when the situation happened a few years back with, the cheating and stuff. People were happy to remind him that he was being treated like a black man in this instance, right? But if we say that on the surface, correct, before anything like that happens where they're necessarily in trouble, people will question it. And so that's sort of what I mean when I say that they have struggles.
Shador Sanders is going through that right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not trying to say that it is one-to-one the same, that, figuring out how to pay the light bill and get your car fixed are the same type of struggles. But there are some things, there are some similarities, there are some paths that we all share, no matter our economic status. So that is my thought on that one. So let's get into this Will Smith thing. So Will Smith, he is on a comeback, right? We've talked about it. He's going and having conversations with, different types of media. Like I said, tomorrow his conversation is dropping with Gillian Wallow on $1 million worth of game and so forth. And he appeared on Sway's Universe and was talking about his album release. And he said that he called Jay-Z and Kendrick Lamar for music advice. So, he was taking his comeback seriously. I think he was really putting some thought to it, right? So he said that he sent them the tracks and literally told them, don't fake your response. If I'm too old for this, tell me. Because we have talked a lot about older artists, especially in hip hop. This having artists at this age is not new for other genres, but for hip hop, which in theory is a relatively new genre, it's, its artists are aging with it. And before, 28 was the cutoff, then 30, but now some of our OGs are capable of spitting some heat. Maybe not the same type of heat that a Gen Zer wants to bounce to and hear, but something appropriate for their audience, right? So personally, I love the move. Like I said, the two of the most respected lyricists in the game talking to Big Willie, right? And he wanted their honesty. So Jay reportedly told him to lead with truth, but Kendrick had a different sort of way of expressing himself. But let's hear what Will had to say.
It's like, before I started, I made 2 phone calls. I talked to Jay and I talked to Kendrick, and I was like, hey, I want to get back in music, and it was like, what's the advice? And Jay said, like, don't fake your story. He was like, you gotta say what's true for you. And he said, you'll be looking at the younger rappers and you want that to be true for you, but you don't live like that. It was like, be true to your story, tell your story. And that's where I got the based on a true story from Jay. And Kendrick, he paused, he said, man, just say that you always been scared to say.
Sorry, mommy. You gotta say sorry, Will. You gotta say sorry.
I mean, that's the Kendrick said that, mommy. I didn't say that. Yeah. And it was like the same thing. Yeah, it's basically the same thing. And it was like, be honest. Be honest. And it was like, that was, it was scary. Right, to just say, right, and that's the thing with genre. Make the record you want to make. Don't try to make the record that you think people will like you for. Make the one that's authentic.
So I think that that is important. I think that we will see. I think that, like I mentioned, there's an audience for it. Now, are we talking top of the charts, billion streams? Who knows? We don't know what can happen with that. But I do think that there is a lane for it, and I think it will be a release for him after the past couple of years. So let's keep it real, though. He hasn't dropped an album since Lost and Found. That was in 2005. And 20 years. It's a whole lot of time. The music game has changed immensely since then, streaming, TikTok, AI, and all of that. But we know Will has a handle on the social aspects of the game. Andy?
There's a part of me that feels like Will Smith really didn't even need that advice. Considering his career, he's always been himself.
No, because listen to me. In his biography, Will, he talked about having to put on faces to be the good guy, to make sure that that was something that he struggled with in that regard. So maybe he means be himself in all aspects. So not just the happy-go-lucky guy, the guy that's sometimes angry, the guy that might walk on stage and pop somebody because he's not feeling what he's saying. I think he means in that avenue, and that's not someone we've known Will to be as a person.
Will Smith.
Yes.
This is just my advice to you. Hopefully you'll take heed to it. I don't want to hear any gangsterness from you, if that's what you're talking about.
But he said that. He said he can't do what the younger, he said Jay told him you might want to do that. You might feel like that's what you have to do, but that's not what you got to do.
But to the earlier point about him being like, the nice guy or whatnot, you know what I mean? Like, what if he might want to touch on feeling violent towards Chris Rock or something?
I think he should.
Okay.
I think here's the thing. I mean, maybe not that, but if he wants to talk about, anger and emotions, I think the language and the way that he will broach the subjects is going to be from how old is Will Smith? 54? Something like that. Excuse me, year-old man's perspective. So although it may be about, violent feelings, in theory, we're just making examples, we don't know.
Right.
The conversation will be different. That is what I believe.
Okay. All right.
So we have a caller on the line, Eric from Carson. Eric, thanks for checking in. How are you this evening?
Hey, Jill, how you doing?
I'm great. And yourself?
I'm good. And what's up to Andy?
Andy says, what's up? What you calling about? What's on your mind?
Just to touch on the Will Smith conversation. He's 56, by the way. He's a little bit older than me, but I grew up, around his era. He was known as a teenage rapper and for clean lyrics. So he had a relative success, as we all know, as a rapper, but his true fame came from, his Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and his acting. And so I feel like he should just stay in his lane. His style of rap is dated, and there's no place for it now. And I feel like he should just, maybe mentor his kids or something, but I don't think he should try to get back into the rap game. I just feel like it's ridiculous.
Ooh, Eric. Okay, let me talk to you for a minute. So first and foremost, Will Smith has bars. Will Smith has flow. And I think that Will Smith has a flow that is something that can, in the right way, sound good currently. Like I said, not too much Joyner Lucas, but
real quick.
Yes.
Will Smith was on $1 Million Worth of Game.
Yeah.
With Gilly and Wallow.
Yeah.
Did you see how Gilly was like acting when they were rapping whatever song that
Brand
was?
New Funk. It was Brand New Funk.
There we go.
And that is one of the songs that was breakout. Will has bars. He did the pop good guy thing because it worked and it was catchy for the time. I think that he's a performer. He commands the stage. That's another thing. He's going to tour with this album. So I think that there's a place for it. I think that you are not giving Mr. Smith as much credit as he deserves as far as lyrical, things. I'm not saying he is Jay or Kendrick per se, but Will can hold his own.
I also think it's important that he did reach out to Jay, but also reached out to Kendrick. I think when you're going out on these press runs and stuff like that, and you letting people know that you hollered at Kendrick, Kendrick essentially kind of gave you a cosign.
Yep.
But you also are going on these platforms, right? $1 million worth of game, Gilly and
Wallow, yeah.
And these are young platforms. The youth are watching these type of stuff. So who knows? It might be a door open for the youth to tap into Will Smith.
Right. And Fahima in the chat says, I'm correct. Will Smith revealed in his bio that he has worn a mask most of his career. So advice was sound that was given to him. And Urban Spencer says the song that Will did battling his son was fire. And Pretty Brown Mimi says, I'm Team Will. Come back to the game, Mr. Smith. Listen, so I think that, again, it is going to be appropriate for a certain segment, not you, Eric, which we're disappointed in. Eric, you got to give it an opportunity. Let me ask you, did you listen to Snoop's album? Did you listen to Nas's album? Are you into LL's album? Are you into Ice Cube? Are you into over 50 rappers?
I definitely am into over 50 rappers, and I know you won't agree probably, but I don't think that Will is on the level of anyone that you just named in the old school rappers, but he did have a place, but if we're talking about a Soul Train, Music Awards, honoree, something like that, I would say that's great. But I feel like, in my opinion, trying to branch out and tour, what is this about? It's not about money. Is it a midlife crisis? What is the purpose for this is what my question would be. Somebody got to be negative, so why can't I do it?
You can do it, Eric. You can do it. It is to get back to what he loved, what brought him in the business. When we come forward, we're going to have more trending topics, more headlines. You're locked in with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
South Beach, bringing the heat. Can y'all feel that? Can y'all feel that? Jig it out. Here I am in the place where I come let go. In Miami, the bass and the sunset low. Every day like a Mardi Gras. Everybody party all day. No work, all play, okay? So we sip a little something later.
You're in the know with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Mike Island with 4 things you should know on the Black Information Network. The Department of Health and Human Services is going to cut 10,000 employees across different health agencies, possibly affecting a large number of African Americans. The Social Security Administration now is enacting a policy change that will see it withhold 100% of any overpayments made to recipients until the overpayment is repaid. A case of measles now is being reported in central Ohio. 10 other cases are in northern Ohio. None of the people who have been impacted have been vaccinated, according to Ohio health officials. Democratic Representative Justin Pearson confronted Republican Representative Andrew Farmer during a hearing which would reinstate gun carry permits in Tennessee. Pearson, who is African American, took offense at a comment made by Farmer and lunged at him. Pearson had to be physically restrained before a recess was called. I'm Mike Island on your home for Black News First, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Well, the 101 has a handful of action right now. Cahuenga Pass on the northbound side before Lancashire. A crash landed in center lanes, delays all the way back from Vermont Avenue, slowing beyond the wreck all the way to White Oak in Encino. Then the southbound side of the 101 before Laurel Canyon. Another crash here, left lane is blocked, and overall slowing out of Calabasas, leaving Lost Hills. Tough also on the 5, southbound before Fletcher. There's a crash here heading into the Elysian Park area. These guys are out of lanes to the right shoulder. And that South 5 is still pretty tough getting away from the 134.
Let Express Employment Professionals help you hire for contract or full-time jobs. Forget about recruiting, sifting through resumes, and interviews with unqualified applicants. Go to expresspros.com to find the location near you. That's expresspros.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The LA Sparks are making plans to retire Candace Parker's number 3 jersey. The ceremony for the WNBA legend is scheduled for halftime of the Sparks' June 29th game against the Chicago Sky at Crypto.com. Parker played 13 of her 16 WNBA seasons with the Sparks. The 5-time All-Star led the Sparks to 3 WNBA championships, was MVP in 2008, and Defensive Player of the Year in 2020. Parker is the 3rd Sparks player to have her jersey retired. She joins Lisa Leslie and Penny Toller. During her career with the Sparks, Parker averaged 16.9 points and 8.6 rebounds. Parker holds the Sparks franchise record in assists with 1,331. Today is opening day for Major League Baseball. The Dodgers are at home against the Detroit Tigers. The Dodgers are trying to become the first team in 25 years to win 2 straight World Series. The Yankees did it in 2000. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
At Exquisite Family Mortuary, we know how overwhelming it can be planning a meaningful farewell for your loved one. Secure your peace of mind by calling Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. From traditional funeral services to memorials to direct cremation, pre-needs, and more. Call Charlotte White at Exquisite Family Mortuary for Southern hospitality in Southern California. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. Exquisite Family Mortuary is located nearby in Inglewood, California. Exquisite Family Mortuary, where your loved one becomes our loved one.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome in. You are locked in with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. with your entertainment news update. You know, Andy's always on theme. We're going to be talking about Aaron Hall in just a second. Let me be honest. When this song dropped in the early 90s, a little bit, when he was like, you can yell and you can hit me, that's just making me more horny. Ill-advised line. Ill-advised line then. Ill-advised line today, considering. We're going to get into that in a second. But before we do, let me get into some of these YouTube comments. Lucas Frank says, going back to our Nepo baby conversation, Black people who use the term Nepo baby have a colonized mind. DJ Black 909 says, normalize Black nepotism. Dear Black people, nepotism is going to be the new normal. Our kids will no longer struggle or have nothing passed down to them. Privileged Black babies and generational wealth is for us. Lucas Frank adds, the Black community needs to ensure whoever you talk to are in the same tax bracket. So there's a lot happening there. There is more. Urban Spinster on Will Smith. If you've read Will Smith's book, he grew up around domestic violence and felt helpless to protect the mother. That little boy who was slapped, that's the little boy who slapped Chris Rock, excuse me. So, you know, a lot of things, a lot of opinions. We're going to have to see. Pretty Brown Mimi reminded us that Will Smith and Jazzy Jeff were the first ones to receive a rap Grammy, 1989. Remember, Will debated on if he would show up or not. And Nigel X says, does the industry strip artistry away? I want to read Will's artistic statement then and now. And I think that's an interesting question. I think at times it does. I think that fans sometimes strip artistry away. I think it's both. Sometimes it is a case of we want to hear what we loved over and over again in a new way, though. That's hard to do. And sometimes artistically, you are growing past that moment and aren't in the same place. And that creates a difficult, sort of situation for the artist to be in. Back in the day, the label would dictate things sometimes. Sometimes they didn't want the artist to let loose. Sometimes they were reining in and keeping control of an artist who didn't recognize that where their artistry was going. Kind of like what the guy that owned the club in Purple Rain said to Kid, nobody's feeling your music but you. Even though that was a lie, we know. But I think that sometimes that is what A&R and what gatekeeping did back in the day. I've often talked about, as much as I love Chris Brown, and I love his creativity, sometimes his albums are too long. Sometimes I think they could do with a good going over and eliminating a few songs for a much cleaner album. But that's just my opinion.
A lot.
I mean
40 songs?
I'm saying, who has the time? I'm not listening to a Chris Brown album for 2 days.
Perfect background music, though.
So, I mean, but, again, I understand that he's an artist. So he wants to, experiment, test it, but sometimes you need someone to kind of help you prune those edges. So let's get into this Oprah Winfrey story, because this is kind of crazy, but this is like the situation that seems to never get resolved, right? So Oprah has officially been subpoenaed in the ongoing defamation case that is tied to Drew Dixon's sexual assault accusations against Russell Simmons. So Drew Dixon, if you recall, she is a former Def Jam executive, and she worked in A&R at Def Jam from 93 until 95, and she is suing him for damages, right? And we'll get into all of that. So essentially what is happening is Dixon's legal team is demanding all tangible evidence be turned over to them, even asking Oprah to appear in court. So the reason why this is coming up is Oprah initially supported Drew's 2020 documentary On the Record, right? Which was on HBO, and it was about kind of the Me Too movement in hip hop and her experience, allegedly, with Russell Simmons at Def Jam, and she claimed that he assaulted her, and there were several other instances of what she deemed intimidation throughout this. So what is happening is that Oprah, right before the release of the documentary, pulled out, citing creative differences. We're unclear what those differences were. But fast forward to 2025, and now Drew Dixon wants the receipts, any emails, messages, or production notes that prove Oprah knew that her story had merit, and she wants to utilize this in her defamation suit against Russell Simmons, right? So she is saying that in a December interview, right? Well, okay, this is what happens. Russell Simmons is suing her, and she is defending. And the suit says that Russell accused her of twisting the definition of sexual assault, saying in an interview in December, Drew is suing Russell. Apologies, I'm saying this wrong. Drew is suing Russell for defamation in addition to the sexual assault allegations because Russell said in an interview that she changed the definition of what sexual assault was. He also insinuated that his accusers were just thirsting for fame. So she deems that as, false statements. And she wants what her conversations were with Oprah that initially got her involved with the documentary to be part of her court evidence proving that what Russell said was wrong. Now, if this happens, this is going to set an interesting precedent. It could swing not only maybe public conversation, but set up for others involved in loose situations as such for their conversations to be brought in simply not as a character witness per se, but as validation for even thinking about being involved in a project. So interesting turn of events should that come forward. We'll have to see what happens. But this is going to be, a high profile thing if they bring Oprah in. We got Diddy in May, potentially Oprah later. I mean, a lot is going on. All right, let's get into this Aaron Hall story, right? Because once again, legal news is going up. So this is like, where's Waldo? Aaron Hall, yes, guys, Aaron Hall is being accused of sexual assault. He was named in a lawsuit that was filed by Liza Gardner alongside Diddy. And she's alleging the incident happened when she was just 16, somewhere between 1990 and 1991. So we'll get into the details of exactly what is happening, what Liza's legal team is saying, and what's going on with Aaron when we come forward. You're locked in with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You ride with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. Call 800-335-2299. That's 800-335-2299.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome back in. You are locked in with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. So let's get into this Aaron Hall story. So, like I mentioned, this incident allegedly happened when she was 16 years old, somewhere between 90 and 91. When Guy was popping, Diddy would have been working at Uptown Records, and she alleged that she met them at an after party. They went home afterwards, and that the two took turns assaulting her. So Gardner's legal team currently is claiming that they have been trying to serve Aaron Hall since June of 2024. They listen, Aaron Hall has addresses in, shout out to View Park. Aaron allegedly lives in View Park. He also has a home in Tarzana, or at least an address, Woodland Hills, and an address in Cleveland. But so far, they haven't been able to catch up with him. Nobody knows where he is. And his lawyer's like, yeah, no clue. So now they're asking the court to let them serve him by newspaper ad, like literally putting his name in the classified ads, like in the olden days. That's what you have to do to announce your business. But I wonder if they'll change that as newspapers are going away. But that's just a random thought. But that's how they want to serve him. And we'll have to see what the court rules on that. Also, Devontae Swing from Jodeci, he was originally named as a witness, but he was dropped from the case in January. So, the 90s was a different time. And Aaron Hall has talked about his time in the 90s. He's talked about how he, when he was on a Vlad TV interview, met his son's mother, Gloria Velez, who was a model, and Gloria was underage at the time. Aaron Hall is currently 60 for, some insight. Gloria is currently 46. So you do the math when they met back in the day and how that broke out. And he talked about how he pulled her. And he said he didn't even really ask her name or how old she was. He was just like, come on, baby, you go on with me. And that is what that is. So we'll see what develops with that. Serving by newspaper is quite interesting. We have a call on the line, Fahima from DC. Hi, Fahima. Thank you for tapping in tonight. How are you?
Sure, Jill. In the interest of time, I'll be quick. So in terms of the lawsuit with Oprah Winfrey and Russell Simmons, I sent you 2 articles, and some of the stuff I'm not going to mention on the air, but I will just say this. Oprah was pressured to withdraw from the film project because Simmons repeatedly was contacting her. And what's happening is that Drew Dixon wants all of that communication and that correspondence. And a lot of this is in the public domain. But I sent you 2 DMs that says a little more than what I'm saying here.
Appreciate you, Fahima, as always. Always coming with the backup and the receipts like we like it. So, listen, there is always legally something that seems to be going on, right? So what are we calling it? Jilly Files. We're going to make sure Jilly Files is the thing. We're on it now. We're on the case. So on that note, if there's any cases you guys want me to tap into, dig a little deeper and get some insight, send them my way. Stiletto Jill, DM me. I'll get back to you. So I have some more topics to cover because that's what we do here, right? So, since we're talking tours, and I mentioned Chris Brown as a tour coming up, we know SZA and Kendrick Lamar tour is hitting here in LA the end of May. Cowboy Carter drops May 1st, my birthday. But we got to ask what's going on with Beyonce's Cowboy Carter tour. So, despite her winning Album of the Year and all of the things and coming off of the Fire Renaissance tour, which I loved, tickets for some shows are still going for $35 to $59. That's with fees included, which is a bargain for a Beyonce show. Because let me tell you, generally, you can't really get into the building for less than $100, right? So Live Nation is saying that it is 94% sold, but the Ticketmaster pages, they're telling a slightly different story. Maybe it's resale, not sure. But the LA shows at SoFi still have mad seats open. And the Beehive, they might be chilling in this era. And some are wondering, is it because people, though, enjoy the country album, aren't as amped to go see it live? Or is it because a recession is coming and simply put, we love you, B, but you doing these every year tours, our pockets, our purses, our, eggs. So got to kind of see. It is interesting, though, because you never really hear about Beyonce's tickets not really moving. So I'm curious to see what happens. Is it just, people talking, people snapping up the resales and not moving until later, closer to the date? We'll see.
What was the sales behind Cowboy Carter? Did she chart? Did she go gold?
It
platinum?
definitely charted. Let's see what Cowboy Carter is currently at, because Beyonce doesn't. Well, she didn't. Carter album sales. It did. Go number 1 when it was out, and several of the singles were, charting as far as it goes. So Beyonce's Cowboy Carter debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 with 407 equivalent album units sold. So I'm not sure what percentage of that was streaming. Let me see. It'll probably say, 168,000 physical copies, 62,000 vinyl versions were sold through her website. And, the rest, I guess, was streaming.
Sounds like she didn't even go gold on that album.
I think she did. I believe that she did. But, she had to have. Because on day 1, the first week it dropped 400,000. So.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. So, of course it did. I just don't know, if it is everybody's favorite. I know people like it. And we know that it had a significant boost following her Grammy win. But I think it may be a combination of maybe not everybody's interested in the country thing, although it's still a Beyonce show. And the other thing is tickets are high. It's a lot of tours going on, a lot happening. And it may just be a little bit of fatigue. Fahima says in the chat, I heard some folks are going overseas to the Cowboy Carter concert. That has been a thing, destination tour going, where people make plans to go to the international tours to make a trip out of it and have a whole experience, an adventure.
Well, she did go platinum here in America.
So, I don't think that it is. I think it may be a small portion of maybe people aren't as excited for the album in the same way. I think you're definitely going to see the Beehive and others show up because, again, a Beyonce performance is a Beyonce performance.
I honestly, I rock with Beyonce, but I'm not like a crazy Beyonce fan like that. But like with other albums, previous albums, there was a lot of commotion behind it, right? This album, not gonna lie, it felt very politicized. It felt.
What do you mean? In what way?
Just the controversy behind her doing a country album, the whole country music awards. Are they gonna acknowledge her and stuff like that? I get being an artist and wanting to spread your wings and wanting to experiment. I know you from Texas. I'm sure country music done influenced you or whatnot. But what I mean by a political standpoint is it just didn't really feel authentic to me.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm just speculating that maybe these are the reasons why people are not running to grab these tickets.
Okay. Well, we will see. It gets out there, soon. I think it kicks off next month, which is really in a couple of days. So we'll have to see what goes on with Beyonce. One more story before we get out of here. Never gonna get it. Selena's murderer, Yolanda Saldivar, let me get it together, Saldivar, has been denied parole 30 years after murdering Selena. She won't be up again for parole until 2030. And, listen, lady, you were saying some wild stuff, so you might want to chill out and relax a bit and reevaluate your thought process about what happened and what was going on. Well, woof! From music legends turning to Kendrick and Jay to wisdom, Oprah getting dragged into court, maybe, we'll see, and Aaron Hall vanishing like smoke. Poof. Tonight had it all. So if you blinked, you missed it. But luckily for you, you got me to get it all in process for you. Get it all together so that you can hear all the goods. Make sure that you are locked in every Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. here for your entertainment news update, of course, with all the trending topics and headlines, your front row seat to the culture. Thanks for locking in. Make sure that you are sticking and staying around for the voice of reason up next, Zoe Williams. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Up in Marigold, we were listening to the Reverend children singing. Yeah. Humming low as the garden river flows while the August light becomes a golden evening. Yeah. And I will lead you down that road if you lose your way. Born to be a protector. Even though I know someday you're gonna shine on your own, I will be your